evening, good afternoon. This is Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, Part 1, Class 4. If anyone who's a student would like to turn their camera on, or anyone who's translating, or anyone who happens to be on the Zoom would like to turn their camera on, thank you, Anna. It's very helpful to me as a teacher because otherwise I'm just teaching to my own face and I already know the material. Um, so it's helpful because then I can see if like what I'm saying is registering on your face or not. Otherwise, I just assume you know everything. So, Jack, you don't have to turn your camera on because you are sitting right next to me. But if you're laying down in bed right now, then I understand why you didn't turn your camera on. Okay. Well, let's do a mandala. And I will plant seeds for all of you to turn your cameras on next class. I'm sure it's going to happen. Okay. Oh, do you have the mandala that you can put up so they can know the prayer? We forgot this time. Yeah.
People know it, right?
They can just listen to us sing if they don't
Yeah,
know
next
it.
time.
Next time we'll put the thingy up.
Okay.
And I'm gonna turn off my mic and you turn on
Keep
your
going.
mic. Do I have to?
I
Okay.
can project.
Okay.
Zashi buki chushe metucha vira nishi de yambari sange shindu nikte obari yoga shila juba sho idam guru ranamandala vedayami.
Lauren Ho, it is nice to see your photo. I have not seen you in person and I don't know, I think it's been 16, 17, 18 years. Thank you for coming to class. Oh, hi. Hi, it's so nice. Oh, it's so nice to see you. We were both um, much younger last time we saw each other, but you
Yes,
look
we
exactly,
were. Yes, we were. It's
you
great to
look,
see
you
you
look
too. I'm so
exactly
excited to
this.
be
It's
here.
really nice to see you. I'm glad you could make it in person.
Yes, me too. Thank you.
Cool. Okay. Lauren was an old time Diamond Mountain student. I don't know, 2007 maybe? It was a long time ago. Um, those were wild, wonderful times. We should all write books about it someday. Okay. So we are talking about bodhicitta because this is Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. And as we discussed last class, bodhicitta is very difficult to get, and you have to work very hard and understand that there are multiple steps you need to take before you get bodhicitta. Um, and in our lives, we understand that sometimes the warm up is the thing that makes our goal possible, or the training sort of like if you want to get a black belt in martial arts, you have to take your black belt test. But in order to take your black belt test, you have to do like, 5 years of training or something first. So in order to get bodhicitta, there are required things, practices you have to learn, and practices you have to undertake. And I'm trying to speak slower than I normally do, because I watched my class, and boy, do I talk fast. So if I'm talking too slow, you guys can tell me. But I'm just trying to make it easier for the translators, and I apologize for last class. Okay. Um, so if all the causes and conditions for a thing don't come together, then the thing doesn't come together, which we understand, right? Um, And in order to get bodhicitta, we have these certain causes and conditions we need. So we talked about how to prostrate. And there were a couple of things I forgot to mention. When you are going down to the ground, traditionally you would go down to the ground slowly. You don't want to do because that is symbolic of wanting to go quickly to the lower realms, and we don't want that. So you do this slowly. You will see practitioners doing it like really fast. Don't do that, okay? And then when you get to the ground, when your head is on the ground, um, then you want to come up fast because you don't want to be at the lower realms. So that's just one little symbolic thing you can think about when you prostrate. And again, when you're doing your prostrations, you should try to really try to imagine a holy being in front of you. Otherwise, the action is like a little empty, and it will prepare you for when you actually have a holy being in front of you and you really want to do a prostration, you'll already know how to do it because you've been visualizing them and practicing, and probably the seed to have a holy being that you want to bow down to in front of you might be imagining them in front of you. So it's a win-win situation. And then we talked about refuge. So refuge is shelter, like you're afraid of something and you think there's something that's going to help you. So you go to that thing. So why would we put our faith in this path? I mean, one is that we haven't found another path that is helpful or that talks about how to avoid getting old and sick and death. So we found this path. And, the one thing we know in this life is that we will get sick. Um, it's not, it's not a question of if we will get sick and die. It's just a question of what we will get sick with and when we will die. Hmm. And well, no one on this call is particularly old, but it can come at any time. Like some actor I grew up watching his show just died at like 48 in the US. He was really famous and he was my age. And I like watched him get older on TV, and then he just died from colon cancer. And you never know when the time is going to come. And I'm listening to these recordings from 1997, excuse me, and I hear the voices of my friends who died. They're not around anymore. And I could tell you their names, but most of you never heard of them. Fran Diane, Ani Pelma, gone. And Ani Pelma wasn't, Fran Diane was quite old, but Ani Pelma, she was pretty young. So, someday someone will watch this video and I'll be gone. And at some point we'll all be gone. Everyone on this video will be gone. So we have to take refuge because we realize that the end of this life is not a happy story. Okay, so we're going to take refuge in something that can turn this into a happy story and not a sad ending. So obviously when you're hungry, you like go to your fridge or go to a restaurant to get food. Or if there's a fire, you call the fire department unless you live where I live. And there's a fire right outside your house, which happened yesterday, and there was an entire farm field burning, and they just let it burn, and no one calls the fire department. But in a sane place, people call the fire department. It was crazy. huge fire last night and no one called the fire department. But we have this instinct, if there's a problem, we call people to help us, right? So, so as a Buddhist, when we have a problem, we call on the three jewels. Those are our refuge. Um, and they offer us some hope. So you can try it out. The next time you have a problem, you can call on Buddha Jewel, Dharma Jewel, Sangha Jewel, either the nominal one or the actual one. Um, so you might as well try it. And then we also talked about the offerings. And today, my friends and I, it's Tibetan New Year. So my friends and I went to some temples today, and I wanted to show you how they do their offerings. I thought it would be inspiring for you guys to see. Um, Not on mine, but mine's been slow. Can you guys see the offerings? You can't really tell the scale, but this was like, I don't know, a 20-foot long table or something. That's like 6 meters long or something, of offerings. And you can't really see what's on there, but there's tormas and there's water bowls and there's all sorts of treats and there's all sorts of flowers. You can go to the next one. Yeah, so the one on the right is an altar at a Tara temple, and the one on the left shows you like the long view of this table, which took up, I don't know, this was a longer one. This was like, this is the whole thing. This was probably, um, I don't know, I want to say 30 feet of offerings. So that's 10 meters. It could have been longer. It was huge. And they made like they put all these flower petals on the table and flower garlands and all sorts of cookies and treats. And then dozens and dozens of water bowls and dozens of water bottles. So that's a nice way to make your offerings. Is there more? Yeah, and then that's a Tara temple with a bunch of offerings, and they did water bowls and water bottles as well. And you can see mandalas in there. You can keep going. Oh, that's it. Yeah, that's it for now. Oh, and that's Shanti Deva. I thought you guys would like to see him. That's a statue of Master Shanti Deva that we by coincidence found in this temple. So I thought that was auspicious to run into him today before class. And you can see they put rupees, they put money in his lakpas. What's lakpa? In his hands. They put rupees in his hands. Yeah, they made offerings to his body like that. Um, okay, good. So we thought those refuges were inspiring. We also thought those offerings were inspiring. Uh, so how many of you, I'm just wondering, did you guys like offer a sunset or some music in the last few days? Did anyone try? Lavinia did. Anyone else? Oh, Olga did. Good. I'm sure you all did. Um, was it fun to offer the sunset? Lavinia had a great time. Olga had a great time. Yeah, it's fun to make these offerings. And they can be as vast as your imagination is. And you can turn your endless death scrolling on phone or doom scrolling, I think death scrolling. I don't know what that is. I just made that up. I think it's called doom scrolling. Instead of doing like terrible doom scrolling on Instagram, you can be looking for beautiful things to offer your teachers or to offer the three jewels. So you don't even have to let go of your stupid phone. You can turn your stupid phone into an actual smartphone and use it to look for offerings that you can give away. So keep trying. If you didn't try to give some of those offerings with your mind, like the stars or universe or cute puppies you saw, you can try to do it this week. And it's really fun. So doing these things like making prostrations and making offerings, it reaffirms your belief that these things actually exist. And without it, you really can't get enlightened. Like if you're not doing the offerings, to be honest, it's sort of like you either don't value these beings or you don't really believe they exist. Because like, I don't know, if you like a guy or you like a girl, like when I like a guy and I go into a store, I'm always like, oh, I think he'd really like that shirt. Or I'm in, maybe it's just me. Maybe I just do this. Or I go into the grocery store and I see some like, I don't know, maybe he likes guavas or something. And I'm like, oh, he'd really like that guava. And I get really excited. And I think about maybe I'm not going to buy it for him, but I would think about it. And then it's the same thing. I believe he exists. I know him. I know he exists. I know what he likes. And then I want to offer these things to him. So it should be the same thing if you really believe in the three jewels or your Lama or the Buddha or Tara, then it should come naturally to you. I think, I don't think I'm that weird of a person. It should come naturally. Lavinia is like, you really are that weird of a person. No, she's agreeing with me. So I just think that if you really do believe in these beings, you will naturally start to want to make these offerings to them. And it's slowly. That's fine. You can do it slowly. Um, but you know, the slower you do it, then the slower they come to you.
I think she's saying slow down.
Oh, I need to slow down. I will slow down and we will quickly make offerings. Thank you for reminding me. Sorry, I thought you meant we should slowly make offerings, and I didn't want to hurt your feelings, but I think it's it's better when you learn a practice to start. Thank you. It's better when you learn a practice to start it immediately. And I will talk slower. Um, okay. So these were just the warm-ups. What were these the warm-ups for? Does anyone remember why we were chalk selling and why we were chipping and why we were refuging? Does anyone remember why? Brrr. Someone said to get bodhicitta. That's not the, that is sort of, but that's not the answer I'm looking for. What were these a prerequisite for? What? Nope. Someone said to get merit for a good meditation. No. Does anyone remember? Anyone on the Zoom remember why we're doing these?
Someone says clean bed seat.
Good. Yay. Who said that?
Olga.
Olga, woo! For $0. You win $0. Yay. Yeah, these are all prerequisites for purifying our bad deeds. So you can't even start to purify your bad deeds until you're doing your prostrations, you're making offerings. Excuse me, I still sort of have a cold. Making offerings and taking refuge. So if you're a person who's been trying to do the four powers and nothing's working, perhaps it's because you didn't do your prostrations or your offerings or your refuging. Okay? If you're like a longtime Dharma student and you've been trying to clean your seeds and nothing's changing, maybe you didn't do these other three first. And to be quite honest, it's not often taught that you need to do these three first. So you're not a bad person. Don't worry. You probably just weren't taught the techniques yet. Okay. Um, so it is important that we do these three first because otherwise it's like taking the battery out of your car and still expecting your car to work, or taking the engine out of your car, or removing the internal hard drive from your laptop. And then you're like, why won't my laptop turn on? Because you're missing parts. Okay. So we want to do all these things first. Okay. So we're going to talk about the four forces today, or four powers. And these are this is the actual purification practice that you need to do to clean your no, you don't want to clean your good seeds. To clean your leave your good seeds alone. These are the four things you do to wipe away your bad deeds. And we didn't know if you guys would know who Ghostbusters are. Olga knows who the Ghostbusters are. Anastasia knows who Ghostbusters are. And the rest of you, I don't know. We wanted a group of four people who had to work together, um, and I didn't want to use more dog pictures, to be honest. So we found the Ghostbusters. So these dudes, they have to work together to kill the ghosts. So your four powers, they have to work together to kill your bad seeds. Okay. Now you'll never forget. There's four powers. Okay. So, in order for the four powers to work, you need to first you need to stop making bad karma, and then you need to wipe out your old bad karma. So you have to stop making new bad seeds, okay? You have to try to stop making new bad seeds. Then you have to do the four powers to wipe out your old bad karma, and then you have to make new good karma. So in the two lower schools of Buddhism, they actually say you can't wipe out old bad karma, and that you have to experience the full result of any karma you do, which is horrible and so sad because we are all would be completely screwed. Um, we'd be in big trouble because we all make so much bad karma every day. I was so irritated today because I didn't feel good. And I'm going to like all these beautiful temples and seeing these like beautiful statues. And I'm hanging out with my friends who are so lovely and wonderful. And we're having an amazing time. And I'm just cranky. And I planted so much bad karma just because I didn't feel good. And I'm teaching you guys a class on purification, and I couldn't even control my negative thoughts today. So thank God we have the four powers that I will definitely be doing later tonight to wipe out the bad seeds I planted today of irritation. Okay, so we're very lucky that we actually have this practice, and that it works for us. So the four powers, just so you know where it comes from, Geshe Michael didn't make it up. Okay, it comes from a sutra. If I say, and I don't want any one of my friends in the room with me to answer, if I say something comes from a sutra, can you guess who wrote that book? If I said something comes from a sutra, do you know what that means? Do you know who the writer is? Anyone? You can put it in the chat if you know what it means if something was written by a sutra, or if something was written as a sutra. Yes, very good, Olga. For more $0 for you, you will get very wealthy in this class. Uh, if money came in zeros, you would be a millionaire now. Okay. Yeah, so sutra means that it was something spoken by the Buddha. He didn't write the stuff down. That's why we say spoken. Later, his students wrote these things down. So this was spoken by the Buddha. This is from a Buddhist sutra called, and yes, there is a nice translation available. You can check it out. This sutra that teaches the four dharmas. And I know that Jack is dying to read the Tibetan to you
Why don't these ladies do it?
because I don't feel like turning the laptop around.
Nice. Chushi tenpe do.
Good. Chushi Tempe Do. So this is means the sutra that teaches the four dharmas, and this is where you can find the teaching on the four powers. Okay, so in this sutra, Lord Buddha is teaching the four forces to Maitreya. Who's Maitreya? The next Buddha. Yay. And Geshe Michael always says he's closer than you think. So you can think about that. And then what he says here is that if you have these four forces or four powers in your mind, you can wipe out all your old bad karma. And then it's also mentioned in the Diamond Cutter Sutra that if you do the four forces, you'll get rid of your bad karma. And in the Diamond Cutter Sutra, they also say that say you have some karma that you did in your mind stream that would send you to like a hell realm, it'll ripen as like a migraine instead. And in the Diamond Cutter Sutra, they say that if you listen or study to the Diamond Cutter Sutra, or if you're doing the four powers, you can expect to suffer. So I have this funny thing because I heard this story about a woman who was listening to the Diamond Cutter Sutra teachings in her car, and her car blew up. She survived. The tape did not survive. I don't think the car survived. I will not listen or study to the Diamond Cutter Sutra when I am on an airplane. This is my small paranoia that I have. I will not. That's just me. But it is true. And I can tell you guys a story. There was this thing called the Tibetan Heart Yoga book tour that Geshe-la did in 2000 and when did we go? He came out of retreat in 2003, 2004, January 2004 until May 2004. About 10 of us went with Geshe Michael on a book tour around the United States and Canada. I think it was like we did something like 14,000 miles. I might be making that up. But we went to almost every state in the United States and we went all over Canada. And it was incredible. And it was the first time I was able to teach Dharma. And, we were teaching thousands of people across the country in Canada. And on the very last day, we finished the tour. And then the next morning, I think maybe we had one more talk. I think we had one more talk. And I got out of the car. I went to Geshe Michael's house. We were all going to have breakfast together. And I got out of the car and I was like, I don't feel so good. And then I went into Geshe Michael's house and I like collapsed in agony and I had a kidney stone. And I had to go to the hospital, and I was in the emergency room with some other people from the book tour talking about the book. And I'm telling the nurses, like, can you get me a radio? Because I'm on the radio now. Like, I'm on the radio, but they thought I was high on morphine, which I was high on morphine, but I really was on the radio and I wanted to hear the talk. And it was really fun because Geshe Michael and the 10 other students came to the emergency room and um, and they told the nurses that I really was on the radio. I I hope that never happens to you, but it was very funny. Anyway, but my point, you can tell I'm Geshe-la student because of my long stories. I will get back to the point. But the the point was that it was the very last day of this incredibly virtuous activity that I had undertaken. And then I had a year of terrible health. I got like, they knew me by name at the emergency room in Tucson. Like the nurse who triages you, who's not supposed to ever remember anyone's name, knew me because every 6 weeks I was dropping a kidney stone, which is incredibly painful. And then I got another thing. Anyway, we don't have to go into it, but I'll just say that sometimes when you do incredibly virtuous activity and when you're really working on purifying your seeds, it is true that bad stuff will start to happen and you should expect it and then you should be happy about it. Because what it means is that things that are a billion times worse are being cut off, stopped. So I had, a few years of kidney stones, but maybe, I don't know. Look, I really don't know, but maybe it saved me a billion years in a hell realm. Um, so if you start doing the four powers and I don't know, you lose your job or you get a kidney stone or you break a toe, you can celebrate. It's a different way to start looking at the bad things that are happening to you. Um, if you're not purifying and you're not collecting a lot of wonderful good karma, and bad things start happening to you, that's not a time necessarily to celebrate, okay? But like I said, if it comes with the purification that you're doing and the good karma you're amassing, then it's generally a cause for celebration, even if it doesn't feel like it in the moment. Okay, so the first force that we're going to talk about all four forces today, and then we're going to go into detail on two of them. And then next class, we'll go into detail on the last two. And this order of the four powers, if you've studied it before, might be different than what you're used to. It is different than what I'm used to, and it's different from the way it's traditionally taught. Um, so as far as I'm concerned, when you do the practice, you can do it in any order that feels right to you. But I'm just going to teach it in this way that was originally taught to us in this class. Okay, so the first force is the regret force. Okay. And the Tibetan, I have to look over here for the Tibetan, is oh, it's actually on my screen, is Nampar. Everybody say Nampar. Sunjinpe. Tope. So that means to regret something, okay? It really means, Sunjinpa means to rip something out or to destroy something. So this is the force of destruction. And as far as the four forces go, this is where we regret, okay? So the regret, this force, you can take the slide down. This is the one that really rips out the bad karma. This one is really, 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 they're all important, but this is the one that does the most damage, which is why it's called destruction force. So for us in this case, destruction is actually a good thing. Okay. So we don't look, I have a friend, she was a good Buddhist um and she had so much guilt every time she did like a bad thing and every time she thought about the negative seeds she had collected, she felt so much guilt that it actually pushed her out of Dharma. And it's not, she said to me one day, she's like, don't you just feel so guilty all the time? Like this concept of good and bad karma. And I said, well, no, I don't feel guilty at all. Actually, I feel regret, but I don't feel guilt. So, um, some people, like I said, they get into this thing where they just start thinking, oh, I'm a bad person. I mean, look, don't feel bad. We're all bad people. Okay. If you're in the desire realm, you're both an extraordinary person, but you're also like a little bit of a bad person, and you're no worse than the person next to you. So whatever this guilt thing is that you may have, because most of us, many of us grew up in a Judeo-Christian society where we're saddled with guilt, that's not what this is, okay? This is the feeling you get when you go into your refrigerator and you go to grab the blue energy drink because you're dehydrated, the blue Gatorade, and you go to drink it, and then you realize someone put antifreeze in the refrigerator and you just drank poison. It's that feeling. That's not guilt about messing up. That's I got to get this out of me. I just took in poison and I need to go purge this and get this out of me because if I don't, it's going to kill me. That's destruction force. That's regret. It's not guilt. Very different. It's not oh, I'm a horrible person. It's, I just did something a little stupid and I need to fix it or it's going to hurt me. So it's very important, I think, for your longevity in the Dharma to understand that distinction here and that you shouldn't, this isn't a guilt thing, okay? Geshe-la likes to call it the regret of a well-educated Buddhist. So we're constantly collecting karma, okay? It's impossible to not plant bad seeds. You plant wonderful seeds too, but it's really impossible to not plant some bad ones. We just have to learn to regret what we've done, and we learn to regret quicker. We learn to regret quickly, okay? So you might go from like, you have a fight with a friend and it takes you a week before you feel some regret for it. A well-educated Buddhist has a fight with a friend, and before the fight is over, they already feel regret for the thing they said at the beginning of the argument. We have to become masters at catching when our mind is hurting us or when we're doing things to hurt other people because it will hurt us. It's like a really good Buddhist, if you're really good, you'll start to feel a little sick inside. Like, to be honest, every time I lose my temper now, I feel physically sick. Um, so that's a good thing because it will deter me in the future, and it's because I feel so much regret over the bad seeds I just planted. Okay. Um, And you'll see like senior students, they'll be in the middle of saying, that guy is such an it. That girl, she's such a, you see, we we stop ourselves before we get to the bad word because we remember that karma is real and we don't want to meet this person again. I one time was about to say something, and Geshe Michael literally shoved a spoonful of Cheerios in my mouth. So I couldn't finish the sentence. So it's very lucky to spend time around your Dharma friends. And hopefully they will have, a bowl full of jelly beans or trail mix that they can just shove in your mouth before you collect any bad karma. Hmm. So as you're getting deeper into this practice, you'll start to think that you're becoming a worse. First, you'll just be like, I'm an asshole. And then you'll think I'm becoming a bigger asshole. Sorry to use a bad word, but that is what you will start to think. Um, because you're starting to really watch your mind more and more. And like I won't say who, because maybe one day they'll watch this video. But I have family members who think anger is righteous. Like they think it's really good to get angry and They think it's important that you let your anger out, and they don't think there's anything at all wrong with lying. But if they were to learn this practice and they were to learn karma, probably they would start to watch their mind more, and they would think they were becoming an angrier person or that they were lying more. But it's not that, it's just that they were actually going to start being aware for the first time in their life. Um, So that's why we need intelligent regret and not guilt, okay? Because we want to be able, guilt sort of weighs you down, and when you have guilt, then often you don't do anything to fix the problem. And we want to do the opposite of that here. Okay, the second force is called dun 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 dun. This is called foundation force. The Tibetan is Tengitop. Everybody say Tengitop. Tengitop, good. So this is refuge in bodhicitta. So when you fall down, you need a solid ground to get up again from. And our solid ground as Buddhists is refuge in bodhicitta. These are just our basics. Bare basics as Buddhists is that we have refuge in bodhicitta. Okay, the third force is the antidote force. So everybody say Nyambo, Kundu, Chupe Top. Right, good. So this is antidote force. So this is a makeup activity for what you did. So you feel regret for something that you did, like you were irritable all day, or you lied at work, or you're in a committed relationship, but you checked out a bunch of different guys today or something. Um, and you realize it's gonna get you into trouble. And then you take refuge and you think about bodhicitta. And then you come up with a makeup activity for what you did. So they mentioned 6 different possible makeup activities for what we can do. We have slides for those, right? Yeah, we can go. Yeah, I'm going to come back to the other one later. Yeah, so there's 6 antidote forces. And we'll go through those now. You guys can, translators, if you need some water, I'm going to take a break for a sec. Okay, good. So the first makeup activity is studying the scriptures on emptiness. So they say it's really good to study scripture, especially the ones on emptiness. I don't know why it's not changing on mine. I hope they can see it. Can you guys see something that says study the scriptures on emptiness? No, they can't see it. I also can't see it. Why don't you try to share your screen again. Are you online? Oh, you're offline. It says you're offline.
You can come to.
Why don't you connect to,
Sharing is false. Hold on.
yeah, sorry, technical
Oh, now
difficulties.
it's connecting.
Oh, you are on, okay.
You can
Oh,
come to my house.
yeah, I'll bring it back in.
Let's drink more water while we wait for our technical difficulties to be fixed. It's a nice picture. I want you guys to see the picture. Hmm. Oh, good. It's coming. Great. So you should study the scriptures that teach emptiness. Okay. So the Tibetan is Dore Samo Latenpa. Okay. Second, We'll go to the second one now. The second one is to meditate on emptiness. Can you guys see the slide that says meditate on emptiness? There we go. Okay, Tongpa ni Gompa. So Tongpa ni means emptiness, and Gompa means to meditate on or to habituate yourself. Now here you want to meditate to the best of your ability. Obviously, well, I don't know, actually, I might be the only non-Arya here. But if you're like me and not an Arya, it's difficult to meditate on emptiness. So it's key here to understand that you just want to do it to the best of your ability. And this is the most powerful antidote, actually. Why would this be the most powerful antidote? Why would meditating on emptiness be the most powerful antidote for purifying a bad deed? Can anyone guess? Anyone? Why would meditating on anyone in the room? Why would meditating on emptiness be the most powerful antidote? Yeah, all bad seeds come from wrong view. Exactly. Perfect. So if you understand emptiness, you won't continue to plant bad seeds. Very good. Good job. Okay, the next one, dun, 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 is to recite secret mantras over and over again. So this is, oh, that's misspelled. The depa is misspelled.
Oh,
What?
that's why I didn't understand.
No, that depa is misspelled. This depa is faith. This is spelled wrong. We'll get you the right spelling next time. Just ignore this. But it's the pronunciation is right. This is a homonym, but it's depa la tempa. So if we had the correct spelling of depa here, de means to say something again and again, or to do something again and again and again. So you want to recite secret mantras again and again and again. So for a mantra to be like authentic, I don't know if you guys are on TikTok. I went on TikTok during the pandemic and then I had to remove it from my phone because I was so addicted. But there was all this like stuff like, oh, if you just say this mantra for abundance, you'll be, let me do the voice. Let me do the voice. If you just do this mantra for abundance, you'll be like super rich. And I did it for a week and now I have a BMW. No, there's a, I guarantee you what they were saying for abundance was not a mantra. So a mantra is not, we in the West will be like, oh, I have this mantra, and it's just something you say again and again. But for something to be an authentic mantra, it has to have been composed by a holy being. So if you have like incredible worldview and that girl on TikTok is a Buddha for you, then okay, maybe that abundance mantra really was composed by a holy being, but it might just be safer to stick with the ones that have been tested over time, like Tara's mantra or Manjushri's mantra or Lord Buddha's mantra. I recommend sticking with those mantras and avoiding the TikTok mantras. That's just my advice. So it has to have been composed by a holy being. You can't make up your own mantra. It doesn't have power unless you have wonderful. Thank you for coming to my class. If not, better to rely on the mantra given to you by your Lama. And then it has to come from an authentic source. TikTok and Instagram, unfortunately, are not authentic sources. When I say authentic source, I mean your Lama or a guide to the Bodhisattva's way of life, or like a senior ACI teacher could be considered an authentic source, not TikTok and not Instagram. Okay. These are funny times we're in, but I do feel the need to say that. And then the person saying the mantra, that would be you. you have to have a pure heart. So if you're saying the mantra as a makeup activity to purify a bad thing that you did, that you intend to get up and do again as soon as you finish saying the mantra, guess what? The mantra will have no power. So not only does the mantra have to come from an authentic source and be spoken by a holy being, but you also have to have some sort of pure heart, meaning even like a desperation to like get rid of this negative deed. Okay. So even if you're still struggling with it, like for example, if you struggle with like, I don't know, like a pornography problem, or you have an anger problem or an addiction problem, and you're saying the mantra and you're trying to purify the bad deed, and you desperately, desperately, desperately want help. You're begging for help and you're begging for this purification to work. But even if like a few hours later you fail, it's okay, because when you said the mantra, you were doing it out of a pure view and a pure intention, and eventually it will work for you. Okay, another thing you can do as a makeup activity is to build altars or paint tankas or sculpt enlightened beings. So this photo, well, I'll tell you the Tibetan. It's Kusukla Tempa. Everybody say Kusukla Tempa. Yeah, so kusuk means holy being, or holy body. And actually, when you say how are you in Tibetan, it's kusuk devolimbe. You're asking how the person's holy body is. It's a very beautiful way to say, hey, how are you? It's how's your beautiful holy body? How's your beautiful holy body doing today? It's nice, right? So this is actually a photograph. I mentioned we have a website to raise money for our program to train translators. And this is actually a photo from when we went to visit the workshop where they make our tankas. And as you see, it's all women, which I think is really cool because the tanka painters used to just be men. And a lot of the men gave up the jobs. And then they started training women to do it. So it's really nice that women now have the opportunity to do this practice of the holy bodies in a very beautiful, formal way. Okay, the next one is to make offerings, which we already went over, so I won't go over it too much. This is from the Tara temple we visited today. So this is Chupa La Tempa. Everybody say Chupa La Tempa. Chupa La Tempa. Yeah, good. So as you're making the offerings, or as you're using a subway, or as you're walking down the street, or as you're buying clothes, you should be thinking, I'm doing this for other people. And that sets you on the path for bodhicitta. So anything you do really can be a highway to bodhicitta for you if your intention is correct and you're not hurting other people. Okay. And then the last one, the last makeup activity, this is called practice of the names. Everybody say Tsenla Tempa. Tsenla Tempa. So Tsen is the honorific for name in Tibetan. The colloquial is Ming. So if you wanted to say what's your name, you would say Kerang Mingla Karare. If you're talking to a lama, you would say Kerang Tsenla Karare. So this is called practice of the names. And this has to do, you can take that down. Oh, this is actually, by the way, just so you know, Jack did a really cool job. And thank you, Jack, for doing the PowerPoints because I don't have time. Yay. This is the names of 35 Buddhas that we can confess to. And there's a practice called the 30, what is it?
Tunshak,
Tunchak, which in English means
confession of downfalls.
confession of downfalls. And you're saying the names of 35 different Buddhas. And this slide has the name of the 35 different Buddhas. And we had like 6 of us were working on a translation of this text during our overseas program last month. And it's actually a sutra, which means it was spoken by the Buddha. Yeah, so we actually worked on translating this, and it should be ready. It should be ready when I have the time to work on editing the text, which I don't know when that will be. Maybe a few weeks, maybe a few months, but hopefully soon. And then we can send it to you guys. If anyone's interested in getting this translation when we finish, you can put your email in the chat, or the Telegram group works also. So in particular, saying the names is applying to your yidam. Who knows what yidam is? Anyone know what yidam? Who doesn't know what yidam means? Okay, good. Me. Okay. So yidam, yidam is like your personal angel. I don't know, in the West we would say oh, look at the cat. In the West, we would say like your guardian angel. It's not exactly a guardian angel, but everyone has a particular karma with like a special Buddha. And it's very powerful to say that Buddha's name, or like their name mantra, to say it again and again and again. And usually your Lama will tell you who your Yidam is, or if you're part of a particular lineage, um, then you have a karma with the Yidam of that lineage, and then that would be your personal Yidam. And in Diamond Way, you get to know who that Yidam is. So if you're not in Diamond Way, just finish your ACI courses. Yay! Be a good person. It'll come to you. But you can also always ask your Heart Lama who your Yidam is. And then it's extremely powerful to say their name over and over and over. And in fact, like after you get initiation, then you have to do what's called a Lerung, where you say your Yidam's name 100,000 times. And then you have to do several of those retreats. And I won't tell you how many because I don't want to scare you. But it's very wonderful. And it really, the practice really changes your mind. I've done 3 of those retreats, and I can say, well, more than 3, but I've finished three of those 100,000 retreats. And that practice has a very profound effect on your mind, and is a very, very powerful makeup activity for bad deeds you might have done. Okay. Oh, I gotta start talking faster. Okay. I was worried I would finish in like an hour, and then I realized I was delusional because I talk so much. Okay. So the 4th force here is restraint. It's restraint force. So we did the first 3. What were the first 3? Regret, antidote. Oh, wait. Regret, foundation, antidote, and the last one is restraint. Okay, so restraint is you have a typo. You have Nyepala, but it's Nyepale.
Nipali.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, so everybody's saying Nyepale, Larndok, Pe, Top. Nyepale, Larndok, Pe, Top. Okay, okay, that one's hard. Okay, so that's restraint force. So this is to turn away from doing bad deeds. This is a resolution to not do the thing again. So you want to set a time limit. So for something really big, like what's something really big? What's a really big bad deed that you do once? Like adultery. Okay, maybe you committed adultery. And then you make a promise, I'm never going to do that again in the rest of my life. And that hopefully should be a promise that you can keep. Okay. Um, or maybe you were a person who used to like set mouse traps, and then you became a Buddhist and you realized it's really wrong to kill any creature. You're actually in the mouse's house, to be quite honest. Um, so you can make a promise to never kill another animal ever again. Okay, those are like easy ones to not break again. Um, One's like, I'm never going to yell at my partner again, or I'll never get frustrated with my children again, or I'll never get irritated with my mother again. Mm-mm. You could break that before you even get out of the meditation. Okay. So for those types, you want to put a time limit. Like, I promise for 5 minutes not to yell at my children. I promise for an hour not to yell at my girlfriend. Okay. I promise for the next day not to get snippy with my mother. Okay. These are time limits that are reasonable and that we can keep. And it's really important that you keep it. You don't want to make a bad habit of saying, I will never do this thing again and breaking it. Or the bad habit of, I won't drink alcohol for a week, and then 2 days later, you're drinking alcohol again. Because look, it's great that you have that aspiration, but if you keep breaking it, you're planting the seeds to keep breaking it. You understand? It's better to make a shorter term goal, like I won't have a cigarette for the next 10 minutes. I won't smoke weed for the next 24 hours. I won't drink beer for the next 3 days. Rather, like if you have an addiction issue, rather than saying I'm giving it up forever and breaking it, it's better to set a short-term goal. And then look, if you say I won't smoke a cigarette for 2 days and you've gone 2 days, you can make another promise to not smoke cigarettes for another 2 days. And then when you make it to a week, you can say, I won't smoke cigarettes for a week. Okay, you just don't want to plant the seed of making the promise and breaking it. So make it a time period that you can keep to. Okay. And then, look, the more classes you come to, you may have noticed, the more practices you pick up. So like, oh, I have to do my Tonglen, I have to do my purification, I have to do my Lam Rim meditation, I have to do my coffee meditation, I have to do my Jorchu practice. What else is there?
Or that.
Yeah, well, that's a coffee meditation. Yeah, I have to do my whole 4-step practice. I mean, it's endless. And then forget about when you get to Diamond Way, the commitments are even more, and you cannot break them. Um, so it's better, rather than load yourself with 1,000 practices that you only kind of sort of do because you just frankly don't have the time. It's better to space things out a little bit. Like maybe for the next 3 months, you just do 4 powers. And you put the other practices to the side just till you get through this purification practice. Or maybe you do your 4 powers 3 times a week and you do your 4 steps 4 times a week. Or you do your Tonglen 3 times a week and you do your purification 4 times a week. Okay, most of us, we have jobs, we have families, we have these stupid phones, we have real actual responsibilities, um, other than our practice, and we just don't have the time to do 30 different practices a day well. And we most certainly don't have the capacity to concentrate that long. So it's better to do one or two practices a day where your focus is strong than to do 8 or 9 practices a day where your focus is like you're not focused at all. You don't get that much out of you get a little, but you don't get that much out of the practices where you're not concentrating. Okay. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit more specifically about the first two powers that we talked about, the two forces. So the first one we talked about was, who remembers? Yeah, regret. Good. So this is intelligent regret of a well-trained Buddhist. And in order to get the regret, they say you have to think about 3 different karmic results. Like if you think about what might happen to you in your next life, like if I continue to be an angry person, then maybe I get born in a country that's super violent, and maybe um, or maybe I don't get even a human rebirth. Maybe I get reborn as an angry dog or something, or an angry lion. Okay. Um, that's one kind of result. The second kind of result is that you get a similar payback. Like if you're someone who lies a lot in this life, then you'll get lied to. Or you'll live in a country where you can't trust the government. I'm sure no one on this call can relate to that karma. Uh, and then the third one is an environmental result. So a weird one is, does anyone know the karmic result for like adultery or sexual misconduct? The environmental, we all know that one because it's so weird. You'll live on a street that smells like urine, or you'll live in a place where you're constantly stepping in dog poop. I had this friend who I was like, every time she went out, someone threw up around her. I never have anyone throw up around me. I mean, it was very, it's a strange karma, but that's how things will ripen. So, and that's why we all have such different realities. Okay. Like Jack and I go out to eat, and usually my food is cold when it comes to me, or it doesn't even come to me. And the waitress doesn't bother to tell me they don't have the cheese sandwich I ordered 2 hours ago. Um, or the food is like too spicy for me. And then meanwhile, he has these beautiful women just serving him the most amazing food that he's ever tasted in his life. This is how karma can ripen differently for different people, really. And it's because of the different things we've done in our past. So if you start to look around at things that are going wrong in your life, and you look around and you see that other people have these wonderful things going on, you might get this more intense feeling of regret. Okay. So, we'll just talk a little bit about karma for those of you who are new. So, anytime you say something, anytime you do something with your body, or anytime you think something, you're planting an impression in your mind. You're planting a seed in your mind. And like a seed, like an apple seed that you plant in the ground, um, the tree that comes out of that seed, it looks nothing like the seed, right? Like if you tried to tell a 4-year-old kid, this little seed is going to become that tree, the kid wouldn't believe you because they don't look alike, right? And also, the tree is so big, but the seed is so tiny. So one moment of irritation at your friend could literally cause a war. Because the apple seed is this tiny and the tree is several thousand tons. Okay. And this is important to understand when it comes to regret. you want to really try to internalize how karma works and understand how big the seed will grow, because then you will pretty damn fast have regret for that really mean thing you said to your friend yesterday. Okay. And then it's also important with this regret to understand that our mind doesn't stop when we die. Okay. There's literally no proof that your mind stops when you die. Um, and then the naivete that this is the only realm of existence. Okay. I mean, just on a like purely scientific level, your eyes, our eyes, we can only perceive like 1% of the spectrum of color. Just in a mundane sense, we're missing 99% of the colors in the world. So to think this is the only realm, or the craziness to think this is the only planet with life. I mean, we're one of, I don't know, I don't know, I'm going to make up big numbers, a billion planets in our Milky Way, and there's billions of galaxies. To think that life could happen once here and not happen anywhere else. It's quite naive, I think. So to think that you will be reborn in this realm, to just assume that you'll be reborn in this realm with the same circumstances that you came into this life with functioning sense powers and two arms and two legs that work, to study Buddhism when there are blocks, they're not allowed to study Buddhism. We have to not allowed to host them because they could be arrested in their countries. You know, to think that you will have this success next time, um, it's a little naive if we're not practicing purification. Sorry. Hi, India. Sorry. I hope we didn't worry you too much. We're back. To think that you'll be reborn in a place with strong Wi-Fi. Okay. Okay, let me get my notes back up. Sorry. Technical difficulties. Okay. Um, hmm. So it's important to realize that this world where we're half happy, half broke, um, is not the only configuration. Okay. Like we believe there's a configuration where you're 100% happy and you're working to help all the beings. And you're not stuck in this little tiny mind that mostly only thinks about yourself and really can't figure out how to help anyone else. Okay. So Master Shantideva in the reading, he goes into this thing about why do you do bad deeds? Like why do we lie or do anything bad at all? And we do these bad deeds because we believe we're getting something from them. Like if you're late to work and maybe you have a tendency to oversleep and you're late for work for like the third time in a week, and your boss is probably going to fire you if you're late again, maybe you show up and you say, oh, I got stuck in the elevator. It was terrible. I'm really sorry I'm late, but it was unavoidable. You believe that your boss is sympathetic to you being late because you lied. That's why we do bad deeds, right? But Master Shanti Davis says that because our mind doesn't stop when we die, that you'll be stuck with the repercussions of that lie, or you'll be stuck with the karmic result of the negative thing you did. So your job will be gone, your boss will be gone, the lie will be gone, your body will be gone, but the result of the lie will still keep going. And your mind will still keep going. So it's crazy to commit bad deeds. You understand? Like I have this thing about getting irritated. Um, I was telling my friends about it earlier. One friend is very sick of hearing me complain about this, but I lent my car to some friends, and one friend did like $1,400 worth of damage on it, and then another friend did like $1,000 worth of damage on it, and then another friend did $250 worth of damage on it. And 250 girl asked if she could, well, she didn't ask. She told me she had to use my car again. And I got so irritated, every time someone messed up my car that I just decided no more renting out my car, no more giving my car to my friends because the bad karma that I'm making as a result of the irritation every time someone crashes my car, it's not worth the little bit of money my friends are giving me to use the car. So sometimes we just have to avoid, okay, because we realize the situation is going to irritate us or make us angry, and it's not worth the bad seeds that are going to ripen in my mind later. Like the $300 I was going to get to let my friend borrow my car for the month is not worth whatever I have to deal with in my next life because of the irritation that will certainly come with loaning this person my car. Um, I mean, you obviously want a greater capacity than that. You want to not get irritated, and you want to understand that you made the whole situation to begin with. And gee, maybe there's a pattern here of people messing up my stuff. So maybe I should be very careful with other people's things. And maybe I should do more purification on not taking care of people's stuff when I was younger. But I also have to recognize that the irritation is not worth the little bit of reward I'm getting now because I will have to pay for that irritation later, long after the car is gone, long after my friends are gone, and long after my body is gone. And then Master Shantideva compares this life to a dream. And he says, like, you believe the dream is so real. You believe all these things in your life are so real. And then you wake up and everything's gone. And, maybe you had a beautiful dream and you're trying so hard to get back to it, but you can never get back to that beautiful dream you were having, unfortunately, especially if you have like a beautiful llama dream and you wake up and you try so hard to get back to that dream. And no matter what, it's not coming back. Um, but when you wake up, you realize the dream wasn't real, even though it felt beautiful, or if you had a bad dream, even if it was so scary, when you wake up, you realize it wasn't real. Um, so our lives are the same, and the things that happen in our lives are exactly like a dream. And so we should regret all the bad things we've done in our life, because they're meaningless. And then this is another argument that Master Shantideva makes. This is a little bit of a heavy class, you guys. I'm aware of that. It'll get lighter again. Next, not in this class, because we only have 8 minutes left. But next class. Um, so he talks about like a story about watching a guy who's about to have his hand cut off, and how terrified he's in jail and he's done something bad, and then the guys are going to come and cut his hands off, and the guy is freaking out and screaming and so terrified. And then he equates that to what happens when we die, when we're going to lose our entire body. I mean, think about like how you feel when you get a stain on your favorite shirt, or how you feel when you lose your car keys. This is losing your whole body and your name and your identity, your pets, your family, all your stuff, your personality. You're gonna lose everything. So we have to try to have this regret now and to do the purification now, so that when it comes time for us to die, we don't have that fear because our heart is clean. I was almost like I was on a plane that was getting very, very close to the mountains in Nepal, and the turbulence was crazy and the plane dropped, and people started screaming, and then the plane dropped again, and then people started crying, and then the plane dropped again, and then the plane went silent. And we were, like I said, extremely close to the mountains, and we were low enough that I could write my friend and say, like, you should start praying for me now. um, and what was I thinking about was some of the things I hadn't cleaned up. I wasn't thinking like, oh, it's too bad I didn't get that job, or oh, it's too bad that boy didn't like me. I was thinking about the time I was really mean to someone and I hadn't cleaned it up, and how much I was just praying that I would have more opportunity to fix that karma. And it's funny, even talking about this experience, it was only a few months ago. I'm feeling super freaked out about it. It was really scary, and I really did think I would die. Um, and you know, we want to clean up the things now. We don't want to wait until the plane almost goes down before we realize that we don't know how much time we have left. Okay. Okay. So because we don't know when we're going to die, it's really good to start the Four of Powers now. You should start today. You should do it today. Don't wait till tomorrow. Do it today. There's a thing, okay? If you there's a tradition that if you hear a teaching and then you don't put it into practice, like within 24 hours, you just won't. Life is too busy and there's too many distractions. You need to start today, okay? That is my recommendation. Um, and that's the tradition of when you learn a new practice is you should like immediately that day, even if it's 2 minutes, even if you don't quite understand what I taught you, just to the best of your ability, try to think about like the biggest baddies. Don't start with the little baddies. Start with the big baddies. And you all know what your biggest baddie is. You know what your, think about it. There's probably like a top 10 of big baddies that you've done in your life. Start with, Olga's like, oh yeah. Start with, mine is usually with my mouth. I'm very careful with my body. I'm pretty careful with my mind. Is my stupid mouth and stupid things I said to people. Um, so pick one of like the big baddies and start attacking that one. The little ones can wait, but the big ones, they get bigger and they get quite big. Okay. Um, And then I'm just going to bring this back to why we do purification again, so we end class on a more happy note. Why are we doing purification? To get bodhicitta. Why do we want bodhicitta?
Because it's the best thing to get.
It's the best thing to get. Why is it the best thing to get?
Because it brings us to Buddhahood.
It brings us to Buddhahood. You can't get to Buddhahood without bodhicitta, okay? And like, don't worry, really, you're no worse than anyone else in this realm. Don't be like, oh my God, I'm like the worst person. My 10 baddies are the worst. Like, I don't think anyone here murdered someone or raped anyone. You're definitely not the worst person in the world. We're all equally bad. If we're in the desire realm, we're really all equally bad. And if you made it to a Dharma class, if you've had the fortune to get a teaching from Geshe Michael or to hear his voice or to hear even just his name or see his face or to know that the Buddha walked this earth, you're a pretty damn good person. So you don't have to get into this like, okay. But you do just have to deal with the reality, which is that like our minds are crazy and we've done some messed up stuff and we just have to clean it up. Okay. And then just one thing that I forgot to mention is it's really powerful to find someone to confess to. It's very, very, and it's not part of the four powers, but it's very powerful to find, it's best to find like someone who has bodhisattva vows or tantric vows that you can confess to. But like sometimes I confess to my best friend from second grade, who frankly is like one of the best Buddhists I know, and she's not a Buddhist. Um, but it's good to confess to someone who's a very moral person, and in my opinion, who has a sense of humor and will just laugh at you and be like, gee, that was really stupid. Don't you know better? Like, they don't let you off the hook, but they don't make you feel worse about yourself. And they also don't blah blah to other people. So you want to find someone who's extremely moral, who isn't going to tell your secrets, who has a sense of humor, but who also isn't going to completely let you off the hook. They're not going to be like, yay, that's so good that you lied. But they'll laugh about it and say, do you think you can do better next time? I recommend it. Okay. It's best if you really, the best one is if you can confess to your teacher. If you don't have a teacher, find a friend. If you have a teacher who's too busy, find someone who's a little bit, who's also a teacher, but a little less busy. And in my experience of like the times I've confessed to Geshe Michael, he's always just been like, uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. Yeah, that was really bad. Uh-huh, uh-huh. Yeah, don't do that again. Uh-huh, uh-huh. Good job. Good confession. He's never made me feel like guilty about it. And he's always given me like a clear path for how I can fix the bad karma. So I recommend finding someone like that. And it takes so much weight off your chest. It just takes so much weight off your chest to confess. And always, always, always remember that the reason that we're doing it is so that we can get bodhicitta, so that we can help all beings. Okay, if you start feeling guilty, if you start like crying and like you can't get through the meditation because you're crying so hard, um, you've veered off into guilt and you've run away from regret. So if you're like all crying and weepy and feeling terrible about yourself, you need to fix it and go move the needle back to regret and away from guilt. And always remember bodhicitta, and that should keep you happy. Okay? That's it. Thank you for coming. Thank you, translators. I will see you guys on Thursday, and I'm sure you will have tried to do the 4 powers by then. Okay, thank you. Let's all dedicate this to getting bodhicitta for the good of all beings. So no one ever has to do 4 powers ever again. Yay! Okay, see you guys later.